Mudkip, the Hoenn water starter. This cute swamp dweller did not fail to shape the culture over the years. In fact, if we were to talk about how much of a fan favorite Mudkip is, the Kip would be S tier. End of the video. But here is the thing. Mudkip may be a fan favorite, but so is Charizard, and we kind of know how that one went in the Gen 1 games. So, did the Kip prove to be worth the fanbase hype? Or was it another charlatan Pokemon who history will not treat kindly? Let's find out. Mudkip starts off with the usual moveset of Tackle and Growl, learning Mud Slap and Water Gun at level 6 and 10 respectively. With this moveset, Rock Sand will prove not to be much of a challenge thanks to the type advantage, though holding an Oran Berry will definitely help against the Emerald iteration of Rock Sand, whose Nosepass also holds a berry of its own. From there, Mudkip will reach level 16, at which moment it evolves into Marshtomp, gaining a secondary ground typing in the process. Now, Water and Ground is an amazing type combination. Having two good offensive types while only boosting one weakness to Grass is definitely a great deal. Plus, there's no Grass gym to be found in Hoenn. What that means is that very few important trainers will have actual Grass moves. Some of those trainers include your rival, Sydney, and the champion. Whether that be Steven and Ruby Sapphire with his Credilli or Wallace and Emerald with his Ludicolo. Apart from those few and far in between encounters with the Grass type, Marshtomp and later on Swampert will be able to move along without any worries about type matchups, which is more than you can say for most Pokemon. With this confidence boost from evolving, Marshtomp will find itself staring down the second gym leader, Brawly. Brawly's Machop will not be very hard to beat for the evolved Kip, but Makuhita, with its superior stats and power, will prove to be too much at least some of the time, depending on RNG and AI behavior. In this regard, Emerald Brawly is not very different, as the meta type he added to his team only has Focus Punch as a damaging move and can therefore just be beaten by spamming any damaging move of our own. Next up is Watson, a gym leader known for how hard he can be to crack, especially in Emerald. This is mainly because Hoenn doesn't exactly give you a lot of ground types to choose from up to this point, but guess what? Marshtomp is a ground type. Outside of crazy confusion RNG, it will easily sweep the electric gym on Ruby Sapphire. In Emerald, though, it has to be used more strategically. The exploding Voltorb lead is the most important trap not to fall into, as Marshtomp can easily beat Manectric and Magneton later on if we saved his precious HP. And speaking of gyms that are weak to ground, next up is Flannery, the Fire-type gym leader. Thanks to Mudshot, Marshtomp can deal with the various Slugmas and Nummels she uses, but come Torkoal, even super effective moves are not enough, as Torkoal's stats are vastly superior to Marshtomp's. And don't even think about messing with its stats with Mud Slap or Mudshot, as it has the White Smoke ability. Torkoal will 1v1 Marshtomp. Once the Fire-type gym leader's defeated, the player must go back near their hometown, where they will find their most terrifying opponent yet, the Dad. Norman, with his massive slacking, is always a challenge, and don't you ever think about Marshtomp being strong enough to do anything about them or the Vigoroth. All of these Pokemon have greater stats than Marshtomp and will beat it through sheer force of their normal stats. Does that mean all hope is lost? Not necessarily. See, what Marshtomp lacks in power, he makes up for it with access to TM28 Dig, which, thanks to Slacking's Truant ability, can be exploited to create a situation where Slacking cannot touch the Marshtomp, beating it easily in all three games. However, since Dig only has 10 PP and Slacking has amazing bulk, the Kip will only be able to deal with one Slacking in Ruby Sapphire. This new badge will grant Marshtomp access to HM Surf and send it off to face its next major challenge, Winona. Before doing that though, Marshtomp can equip itself with the mighty TM13 Ice Beam, which is great for the flying types that Winona uses. With this TM, Marshtomp has a super effective move for Altaria, Swellow, and Emerald-only Tropius. Surf is also amazing for Skarmory, which is notorious for being weak to special moves. However, as with the previous two gyms, Marshtomp cannot remotely do all of these things at once, as its stats do not match against its opposition. It definitely can kill one of Altaria and Skarmory, but probably not both. And you should be careful using it to beat Swellow, as evasion strats could be brutal if RNG does not favor you. If it's not obvious by now, Marshtomp is in some serious need for an upgrade, which it does get after the gym. At level 36, Marshtomp evolves into Swampert. Swampert's first challenge will come not in the form of a gym leader, but two of them. For the next gym is the infamous Tate and Lisa double battle gym. In Ruby Sapphire, Tate and Lisa's duo of rock types will be absolutely clueless against Swampert Surfs, especially if paired with another good surf use like Tentacruel, Walrein, or Melodic. The Emerald team with 4 Pokemon will prove to be more challenging, but you'll still inflict ginormous damage on the massively weak to Water Squad with Surfs. Afraid of the massive water power of Swampert, the next gym leader will adopt a "if you can't beat them, join them" strategy, and use a squad of water types to take Swampert and its allies down, making this match a duel of strength. Remember how Marshtomp's stats were lacking compared to its opposition in previous gyms? Well, it's time for revenge. Swampert, equipped with the mighty Earthquake, will outstat most of Wallitzer Juan's Pokemon and get several kills as long as it makes sure to switch out of Water Pulse Confusion. Against the mighty Melodic or Kingdra that the leaders will use, Swampert has a chance to 1v1, though it will depend on RNG. With every gym defeated, Swampert can head straight into the Elite Four. Against the first 3 members, most Pokemon are weaker than Swampert itself in terms of stats, so it can always get 2 or more kills as long as it switches out of stuff like Confusion, Accuracy Drops, Curse from Phoebe's Ghost types, and Grass moves from the likes of Cacturne on Sydney, which makes it very valuable. But if that is not enough to convince you, Swampert can sweep Ruby Sapphire Drake entirely with Ice Beam and can deal with anything he has in Emerald except for maybe Kingdra, which will depend on how much damage the other Pokemon deal to it and RNG. Against Steven and Ruby Sapphire, Swampert has Surf for Claydol and Skarmory and Earthquake for Aggron and Metagross. Now, it has to be careful of Credilli and needs to be switched in carefully not to take too much damage, but getting 3 kills is very feasible. In Emerald though, Wallace makes it harder for the Water Ground type, as not only it has a threat to it in Ludicolo, but it also has no target for it except for Tentacruel, which Swampert can delete with Earthquake. Swampert can get one other kill through sheer brawling in the likes of Whiscash, but it's likely to get overwhelmed after the fact. Overall, the Mudkip line constitutes an excellent starter that has at least some usefulness against every single gym in the game and an MVP against some of them. It also has a good Elite Four matchup thanks to its lack of weaknesses and strong stats. So, what do you think about Gen 3 Swampert? Would you use it in your runs? Or maybe you prefer either of its 2 alternatives for their own qualities? Feel free to let us know in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. On that note, have a nice one.